I knew when Thunder of Silence was published that I could not expect many people in the world to understand it or grasp it, not even our students. And I didn't expect it. I still don't expect it for many, many, many years to come. And the reason is that from the very start of it, the message it gives contradicts the entire teaching of Christianity. Because every Christian teaching is based on God's goodness to you and God's punishment to the sinner. And probably some of you have lived long enough to find out that God has not been too good to you. And probably some of you have discovered that God doesn't really punish the bad sinners at all. They seem to go scot-free. As a thinker, this must puzzle you. As a thinker, you must be startled by realizing how many sweet, loving, wonderful, good, charitable people there are in the world whom God is not rewarding. And it must amaze you at the amount of evil people there are in the world that not only the law hasn't reached yet, but even God hasn't put his finger on. And as a thinker, you must ponder this. You have to give time and effort and thought to this and wonder about it, and then wonder if maybe the church's explanation is a valid one, that if you don't get punished here, don't worry, you'll get punished somewhere else. And so it is that the longer you seek the answer with your mind, the more frustrating this is going to be. And if you do not have an answer to it, you may be assured that not only your frustration in life will continue, but the solution to life's problem will not be given you. It is for this reason that those who were present when that first unfoldment came through my lips witnessed the fact that what came through my lips was not anything that I had known even 5 minutes before. It was something that came through and startled me as much as it did any of those who were listening who caught it. And be assured I had to do a great deal of thinking and meditating after that message came through to realize the astounding nature of what it was. And I even said afterward, I hope there were no reporters present, because if that message that had come through were reported in the papers, I'm sure the churches would have done to me what they did to some of the ancient revelators. Because that day, the message that came through said, God neither punishes nor rewards. You search the literature of the world and see what a startling message that is. How it refutes the religious teachings of most of the world and all of the Western world. Since God neither punishes nor rewards, and remember, I'm always now on the book Thunder of Silence. Since God neither punishes nor rewards, and since, as we have found, there is a certain amount of punishment and reward that goes on in this world, what is the answer? The answer that came through was that what the Hindus call karmic law is the answer. that which Jesus called, as ye sow, so shall ye reap. And you see, whether you quote the Orient or whether you quote Jesus, you throw all Christian teachings out the window. Because if it is as ye sow that ye reap, then it has nothing to do with God on either the punishment side or the reward side. It has to do with a law that you set in motion. And when we go to Brother Paul, we find him receiving that same revelation from the Christ. If you sow to the Spirit, you reap life everlasting. If you sow to the flesh, you reap corruption. So here we have it in the basic Christian teachings. As ye sow, so shall ye reap, and please leave God out of it. Unfortunately, the basic Christian teaching was not incorporated into the Christian church. Let us for a moment think of God as life, the life of the universe, the life, let us say, of all nature, as well as our own lives. And since God is from everlasting to everlasting, the nature of God must be eternity, infinity. There could be nothing in the nature of God that would shorten the life of man or the universe. Therefore, the life of man must be eternal and immortal. Well, right here, of course, you have no punishment, because all of our sins and diseases and deaths are supposed to be due to punishment. All our accidents, all of the evils that befall us are supposed to be due to punishment of one nature. God's will, it is called. God's will that an airplane collapse with 100 people on board. God's will that a steamship burn up at sea or hit an iceberg. But do you not see that that was not in the original teaching of Jesus Christ? Do you not see, if you go back to the gospel, that you cannot find God that destroys life for any reason, since Jesus' mission was to raise the dead, and his mission was to do the works of God, show forth eternal life. It was to heal the sick, even to forgive sinners. So God could not have provided a punishment for sinners and forgiveness at the same time. Therefore, if you go back to the basic teaching of Jesus Christ, you will discover that there is no punishment through God and no reward through God, and that it is as you sow that you reap. And of course, when you go to the Oriental teachings where they have karma, you will also discover that it is your sowing that results in your reaping, and the reaping goes on until the sowing changes. Now, if you can catch solidly, firmly, this revelation in Thunder of Silence, and actually bear witness to the facts, come to a conviction within yourself that you can leave God right out of your calculations, leave God right out of your thinking right now, insofar as your rewards and punishments are concerned, or insofar as your health or sickness is concerned, or your life and death. Leave God out for a moment and see if we cannot grasp this principle, that it is as ye sow that ye reap. And then make the acknowledgement, regardless of where I am in life, regardless of what experience I may now be having, somewhere or other, there is a sowing in my consciousness that is responsible for a reaping. And let's see if we can't find it. If we can grasp this teaching of the infinite way, we're halfway home. Because if you are still seeking around in your mind, hoping for a God to do something or change something, you're still back in orthodoxy. You're still waiting for that which is not going to happen. Whatever is going to happen is going to happen as an activity of your consciousness. Now, of course, in a half hour, I am covering a subject that you could not possibly resolve in your consciousness within a year or two. You would have to take this half hour of work and spend a year or two, if you haven't already, until you do come to the full realization of the nature, of the startling nature of what I'm saying to you, that at this moment doesn't seem startling to you at all. The only reason it doesn't is because you haven't grasped it. Then, when you reach that, the rest is going to be easy, because I will tell you a secret of something that is operating in the back of your consciousness unnecessarily and causing you distress. There is still a belief in your thought that some act of commission or omission on your part is responsible for your discords or inharmony. And there again, that is where the church has led you completely astray, because the church is 100% in error in telling you that any sin of yours is responsible for the woes that you may have experienced or may be experiencing or ever think you may experience. Be assured it isn't that way at all, and you might just as well forgive yourself right now and forget about your past sins or present ones of commission or omission. Drop out of your thought right now that it was any error of yours. Now, what is the sowing and the reaping that is causing the distresses of the people on earth? Well, Paul summed it up, and we will have to do what he probably did that never got into print. We will have to explain it. He merely stated it. To those around him, he may have explained it, but it never was printed. If you sow to the Spirit, you will reap life everlasting. If you sow to the flesh, you will reap corruption. That's the statement. And the explanation is this. You were born into a material sense of life. Therefore, you have been sowing to the flesh all of your human life. In other words, you have put your entire hope, faith, confidence in form or effect. We have been brought up naturally to believe that money was supply. And it is this teaching that really causes all of the lack and limitation on earth. Because whether you believe that money is supply or crops, it's equally an error. Consciousness is supply. Spirit is supply. The invisible is supply. That over which you have no control, but that which can, when you permit it, control you, govern you. fulfill you. Now, to believe for a moment that money, investments, securities, jobs, professions, businesses, just to be born into the belief that this is supply, makes you go out to get these, and thereby cheats you of the demonstration of supply, because these aren't supply. When you go far enough in the message of the infinite way, you will discover that I am supply, that I embody and embrace within me the infinity of supply, not only for my own use. I could feed 5,000, because I is God. Now deny that I am supply. I am the bread, the meat, the wine, the water. I am the resurrection. I am life eternal. I can give you water. Drinking it, you will never thirst again. I am the bread of life. And until you actually accept that, you are going to be sowing to the flesh. And you're going to reap limitation. Until you, as an individual, come to an inner agreement that destroying civilian populations by atomic bombs is excusable, you are under that karma. Because resist not evil is the basic Christian teaching. Lay down your life rather than take another life is a basic Christian teaching. But certainly, never save your life at the expense of another's. Now, we, at this particular period, have no right to interfere with governments who have adopted warfare as a part of natural Christian living. And as long as warfare continues, we may have to play our part in it. But to accept within your consciousness the rightness of it brings you under sowing to the flesh. If you believe that it is right to protect your property or your life at the expense of someone else's life, you are sowing to the flesh. If you believe that it is right to destroy a civilian population to win a war, you are sowing to the flesh. And there is no way to experience anything other than that karma. When, however, you as an individual come out from under and say that I cannot lend my approval to that, I mean, within yourself, publicly you're not supposed to say anything because you're not called upon. Inwardly, you must come to that place in consciousness where you cannot take another person's life believing in the rightness of it. Then you have come out from under that karma, but your nation still is not out until through its government it likewise voices its disapproval of racial persecution, religious persecution, color persecution, or the wanton destruction of civilian life in warfare. Going back to our opening statement then, you will not find God through the human mind. As you work now with this understanding of karma, sowing and reaping, now remember that for enlightenment you have to open your consciousness to receive the impartations of the Spirit. Then will begin your spiritual life. This first part brings you up to good humanhood, perfect humanhood. But then you must open your consciousness to speak, Lord, thy servant heareth, and begin to receive spiritual impartations through the new consciousness that you've developed.